think that's on it. On the same note, I know that in the Green Party, I read that you were not going to permit products from the States that contains the bovine growth hormone, milk products, to come into Canada because that is why they can sell everything cheaper. In Canada, it's not allowed. So what I'm wondering is, will the other parties do the same thing in order to support local or Canadian dairy producers? Would you ban products from the United States that contain the bovine growth hormone? I'm asking all the candidates.
So I have family, my sister lives in Abbotsford, and I know a lot of people there, they'll go to States, grab their dairy, and I told them, I said, you know what's the difference, why it's cheaper, and hormones and antibiotics, and being a nurse, I said, you know, health effects it has. And I said, you know why our price is still decent, because we don't do growth hormones or anything. So I try to educate people around me, or people know me. I personally don't support that. I personally don't support shopping in US, let's face it. And I can reassure you that I was that voice at personal levels with my connections. I do not support that, because that's again killing our dairy farmers, and people don't realize that meat we have, the milk, it's much higher, much safer to consume, and we may save a few pennies and dollars, but then our health, the consequences we're going to face later. Because as I said, when my first husband was struck with cancer, I read like 10 books, and it talks the deadly health effects. I will be fully advocating for that, and I think some things should be put in place, because it's not just saving our economy, it's also saving Canadians and their health, because a lot of people don't know that. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. And I've talked to many dairy farmers around the North Okanagan Shuswap, and they are very proud of the product that they produce, as are all dairy farmers in Canada, because it's done without government assistance, without government subsidy, and without growth hormones or artificial drugs and so on. What I would do is support Health Canada to make sure that they are testing everything that comes into Canada, because what has happened is the US has found ways around the importation systems. They've found ways of breaking milk down into 26 different protein products that can get through the border because it's not classified as milk anymore. It comes into the country and then is reconstituted in a product that can be used the same as milk. Those types of things need to be addressed. We continue to work with that, but it's a challenge because science and the technology is sometimes moving faster than legislation can. Those are the types of things we tackle as members of Parliament. Thank you.
I'm not exactly sure what the numbers on price per acre is to produce dairy in this country, but it's not far off the US. They do use growth hormones. That is not something that's allowed up here, and it's not something we're going to use. I just want to touch quickly on how this, the price of milk is affected in this country. There is essentially two processors. You have Agripor and you have Beatrice on this side of the country. So it doesn't matter if you're milking cows 1,900 kilometers north of here at the Yukon border, or if you're milking them in Abbotsford. Your milk is going down to the lower mainland and is getting processed. This dairy quota system has allowed two large corporations to control the price of milk in this country. And what Mel was touching on with that dairy coming into this country is with the USMC that the Liberals recently negotiated, they allowed for dairy of content less than 3% fat to come through the border. So that's actually being negotiated into the USMC, and they're going to continue to tromp at us little bit by little bit by little bit. And eventually that is going to hurt the dairy farming here, because there are people that unfortunately they buy by price. They buy from Walmart. They're going to buy that Coca-Cola brand milk. I think it's called Pure Life or something like that. It's not good milk, to be honest with you. What we're looking to do is we're looking to be competitive before we flood our market with U.S. milk, because like we see the Liberal government doing, they're already opening up our borders through the negotiation in USMC. Eventually, our farmers won't be able to compete with that milk, and Canadians are going to have a choice to make at the grocery store. So we're trying to make our farmers more competitive. Thank you.
officially, Canada doesn't use or doesn't allow growth hormone. On 2 occasions, I spoke to inspectors of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, one in the Okanagan, one in Alberta, asking them especially, where do I go to buy meat that is hormone-free? And they said, well, this is an interesting question, because the beef industry in Canada was, for the majority, run by 3 US corporations. And even within the CFIA, speaking of growth hormone was a taboo. And the person in Alberta went on to explain what a growth hormone does. The thing is that the growth hormone is injected into a cow, whether you use it for beef or for milk, doesn't matter. Growth hormone is in there. If the cow is slaughtered, the growth hormone doesn't die, it's in there. And it is a major reason of obesity in North America. In Canada, it's not allowed. CFIA shuts their eyes. Green Party policy is not to permit it, and we will have to put controls in place to police it properly and get rid of that, because it's poison. And another thing is that, no, I've mentioned that already, the hormone doesn't die. No, but that's where we stand. We just want to be rid of it. Thank you very much.
So that confirms my understanding is that at present a BGH is not allowed in Canada, and I support that. The key to not using it is really our supply managed system. There is no point in using it to produce milk that you are not going to be able to sell. But I have met with lots of dairy farmers. I grew up in the shoe shop. I was a lawyer for dairy farmers. I have been meeting with them after the last election, including just last month, and there isn't a one of them that wants to use growth hormones. I mean, they are about caring for their herd and about healthy and good product and producing that for Canadians. So I support sustainable agriculture and supply management. Thank you.